came to the subject had who knows how many questions. Where's the edge? Oh, how
Right.
could they be lying? Why are they lying? All these questions that come to your mind are certainly going to come to your friends and family and everyone on your Facebook timeline's mind. So you better be prepared to answer them.
Well, hello and greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy, and today we're going to continue our series on Eric Dubay. The subject of today's video is going to be Sagnac and Airey's failure, laws of motion, and we're also going to talk about why you can't just go up in a helicopter in New York, wait 3 hours, and then land in California. We're going to finish up the video by talking about how Iowa-class battleships plot their guns to put shells on target, taking into account the Coriolis effect and the curvature of the Earth. So let's get the music started and get it going.
But the sun, moon, stars, all the celestial bodies rotate around us. And this has been proven too. Since the 1800s, they've done experiments. You can look up Airey's failure is one. George Airey put water in a telescope to slow down the starlight coming in, and comparing it with control telescopes, you're able to see whether it's the starlight that's moving over us relative to a stationary Earth, or is it the moving Earth rotating under a relatively stationary star. And
Airey's failure, along with the Michelson-Morley experiment, is cited in many cases by the flat Earth community as proof of a stationary Earth. It should be noted that neither of these investigators had any doubt whatsoever that the Earth was a sphere, which rotated and orbited about the Sun. Both experiments were designed to take advantage of these movements to prove the existence of an ether, which was the transport medium of light at the time, or at least according to theory it was. Both failed to demonstrate the existence of ether. It had absolutely nothing to do with the rotation or the orbit of the Earth. It was all about the ether, and if you actually look at the original papers, you can clearly see these. This is just something that's being repeated in the flat Earth community by people who do not understand what these experiments even involved.
And this and many other experiments by Michelson, Morley, Gale, Sagnac, and some others in that time proved that the celestial objects in the sky are all revolving around us, and we are completely still.
Now, it should be noted that the Sagnac effect, which is one of the experiments that was mentioned by Mr. Dubay here, is the basis for the laser ring gyro and the fiber optic gyroscope. These are gyroscopic instruments based on light and the interference of light going in opposite paths that are sensitive enough to detect the rotation of the Earth sitting on your table. Now, another way that we can confirm both the rotation of the Earth and gravity is by means of a mechanical gyro compass. And this was first patented in 1908 and is in widespread use for navigation on ships. I suggest you have a look at the wiki page for a gyro compass and see that both rotation and gravitational force is required for these instruments to function.
Samuel Rowbotham did a bunch of experiments for over 30 years, wrote a bunch of books, and did lectures all over Europe talking about the flat Earth and exposing the heliocentric theory. He wrote a book called Zetetic Astronomy. William Carpenter wrote a book called 100 Proofs the Earth is Not a Globe.
What year was that?
That was also late 1800s, around 1890s. The Rowbotham book was first published in the 1860s. He did experiments over water, seeing if water was convex or flat, used theodolites, telescopes, flags, spirit levels, sextants, used different instruments to record that.
Now, as I've already mentioned, a gyro compass requires both gravity and rotation of the Earth to point out true north. It is a non-magnetic compass that is aligned with the axis of the Earth. We also have equatorial bounce with telescopes, which require a rotating spherical Earth. Sextants require a spherical Earth in order to work. They do not work on a flat Earth. And theodolites demonstrate horizontal drop. So you can say this all that you want. However, the documentation and the data and the practical use, as we have already shown with the water level a number of times, clearly supports the globe. You know, in science, your data mandates your conclusion. Your conclusion does not mandate your data.
Able to see it, but you can see from the left side of your periphery as far as you can go to the right side of your periphery as far as you can go, which is actually at least twice as far as the horizon is straight in front of you, which they tell you is the curve of the ball Earth. So that's another way you can know that it's not the curve of the ball Earth, because you can see right and left of you twice the distance, and that's not curving away. So how could half that distance supposedly be curving away?
You know, this is a common assertion in the flat Earth that we should see a horizontal curve left and right when we look out. This just reflects a basic misunderstanding of geometry. The horizon, when we're standing on the beach, is 3 miles straight ahead of us. It's 3 miles to our right, and it's 3 miles to our left. It is never more than 3 miles from us. The fact that it is 6 miles from the far left to the far right has no bearing on the fact that it's never more than 3 miles from us. I don't understand why people don't seem to grasp this elementary level education concept. Okay, before we go on, I think that we need to revisit Newton's laws of motion. And we need to look at two different definitions. One is a scientific law. A scientific law defines what is happening. A scientific theory defines why it is happening and is open to debate. A law is not. Now let's look at Newton's 3 laws of motion. And remember, these are laws. They are not open to discussion. The first law is that a body in motion will remain in motion, and a body at rest will remain at rest unless an outside force acts upon it. The second is that force equals mass times acceleration. And if several forces are acting upon a body, they form vectors, and the resultant vectors are additive. And finally, the third law of motion is that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This explains why rockets work in space. This explains why rifles don't kick harder depending on whether their bullets hit something. So let's go on and let Eric demonstrate that he has absolutely no concept of what these laws of motion are.
Since then, we've had planes that can prove even further that the Earth is stationary. Helicopters as well. You know, you'd think if the Earth was revolving under us, you could just hover up in a helicopter and the Earth would revolve underneath, and then you could land when your destination got to you.
Now, this has got to be one of the most absurd things that I've ever heard out of Flat Earth. All right? He is saying that if a helicopter goes up, if the Earth was rotating, all they would have to do is go straight up and wait for the Earth to rotate under them. Now, to give you a further example of what this means, a balloon goes straight up and straight down, and it's only acted upon by the winds. If Mr. Dubay was correct and the Earth was rotating, at New York, the Earth will be rotating from the west to the east at about 740 miles an hour, which is greater than the speed of sound. A balloon could ascend in New York, wait 3 hours, and land in California. And that would beat the time of a commercial jetliner to get there. The other thing that the Flat Earth fails to understand is that the laws of motion are indeed laws. If you look at motion, you must apply the laws of motion to it. So, if you are sitting in a chair in an office and just tossing a ball up and down, all right, the ball will go straight up, it will come straight back down to your hand. If you are on an airplane doing 600 miles an hour, and you toss a ball straight up, it will come straight back down to your hand. Now, why is this? It's because in your frame of reference, everything in that aircraft is moving at the same speed as the aircraft, as long as it is not undergoing an acceleration, which can be a positive or a negative acceleration. Everything is considered still. So, on the surface of the Earth, whether it is moving or not moving, everything that is on the surface of the Earth will be moving in relationship to everything else on the surface of the Earth. That includes the atmosphere. Now, why would it include the atmosphere? Where does the atmosphere come from? The atmosphere comes from breakdown of rocks. It comes from volcanic gases that are discharged out of volcanoes. It comes out of the pores of trees that convert carbon dioxide to oxygen. Now, look at that oxygen molecule. It's coming out of a tree that is moving at the surface speed of the Earth in the rotation. So how fast is that oxygen molecule moving? It's moving at exactly the same speed, which is why we don't have a wind coming out of trees. All right? When you are born, this is why you don't hit the wall of the delivery room. You're moving at the same speed as your mother is. And they don't seem to understand that the atmosphere of the Earth and the surface of the Earth are locked together by this conservation of inertia. And they aren't separate systems. It's not like the Earth is rotating underneath the atmosphere. They're both rotating together.
Of course, they tell us that the magic of gravity holds the atmosphere to the spinning ball, too. And so, relatively speaking, you're moving with the ball. Okay. But they've done experiments with projectile cannons as well as planes taking off in all cardinal directions. And if the Earth was spinning 1,000 miles per hour eastward, as they say, and the average commercial airliner goes about 500 miles per hour, your eastward destinations should come up behind you long before you ever reach them.
Now that statement is more irritating than anything else. Just go to the wiki page on the armament of an Iowa-class battleship. Look down a little bit and you will see the plotting room. You will see the factors including the gyro compass, the rotation of the Earth, the curvature of the Earth, etc. that were taken into account to put those 16-inch shells on target. It's just an outright lie, and it's easily confirmable. So I don't know why Eric Dubay would put something like that in here. Well, guys, thank you very much for stopping by. I think that'll be enough for today. Next episode, we're going to talk about aviation and why pilots don't dip their nose and go over his thoughts on that. In the meantime, this is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. If you would, please hit that like and subscribe button and make sure that you come back and check frequently for updates. Take care.
This rabbit hole's too deep for me. Feel my brain getting real sore.